all you slashaholics. Welcome to, or welcome back to, Slash Sisters. I am Slash Sister Jen.
And I am Slash Sister Hallie, and we want to welcome you back to your channel for horror movie reviews by true horror movie fans.
Don't mind me, I kind of have this thing happening with my throat. I was sick, and now I'm... So if I sound weird, that's why. Or if my voice just goes away, that's why. I know, I'm still fighting this crap. Anyways, today, my friends, we are watching a lesser-known horror movie, but one that
I'd never heard of it.
Seriously affected me personally the first time I watched it. It's a very self-aware, meta, dark humor story that plays on all of the tropes of the horror genre.
This film is shot partly... Yeah, I did, and I stepped in it. What are you laughing back there for, producer? Shut the fuck up. This film is shot partly in mockumentary style.
Yes.
Not documentary style, because documentary implies that it's real.
Yes, true.
In a world where killers like Jason Vorhees, Freddy Krueger, Michael Meyers, and Leatherface are actually real historical figures. Which I think is probably one of the coolest things about this film, but it's also one of the dumbest things in that aspect too, because you can't even... I mean, the closest thing they got was showing, like, Kane Hodder standing in front of the Nightmare on Elm Street house.
True. Which I think that was just, like, that wasn't even supposed to be him either.
No, it's clearly...
Just, like, the owner of the house.
Right.
Yeah, and he's like, fucking leave me alone, get away from my house.
Right.
But yeah, so today we are digging into Behind the Mask, the Rise of Leslie Vernon. And this is quite an interesting one. Yeah, this is a really cool case.
Oh, look, it's just the title, Behind the Mask. There, we solved it. We're done. Thanks for subscribing.
And we're done. Bye. Have a good week. Anyways, why don't we go ahead and just jump right into this interesting little slasher film, shall we?
It's definitely something. We start our story with a journalist named Taylor Gentry and her two cameramen, Doug and Todd. They are doing a student film project where they document Leslie Vernon as he prepares to join the ranks of other notorious slasher villains.
Mm-hmm. Leslie claims to be a boy from the local urban legend who supposedly became possessed and killed his family before being killed by the townsfolk. Actually, he was thrown over like a waterfall.
Levee dam or something like that,
but having in fact survived the attack.
Mm-hmm. He walks Taylor and her crew through his plans, but refuses to truly explain his motives.
Leslie plans to orchestrate a killing spree at his alleged family home, which is a rundown apple farm out in the middle of nowhere. Then, I guess, every year the kids around Halloween, I assume,
attempt to sleep in the house.
The teen kids come in from town and they attempt to sleep in the house and basically just throw a party.
Yeah, because Taylor at one point asks him, she was like, well, this is your family home. Why aren't you living here? And he's like, well, I can't exactly return if I'm seen mowing the grass. Now, can I?
Exactly.
I will be honest, that was a funny line. that was funny. By the way, the guy that's playing Leslie Vernon in this.
Yes, his name is Nathan Basil.
You know what he's best known for?
What?
Editing.
Yeah. I mean, this is his only acting credit, right?
He's got a few other acting credits.
But they were like, really small.
It was like TV episodes here and there. This is his major film debut. But pretty much after this, he's done like Deadliest Catch, stuff for like Discovery Channel. You know, he's editing those episodes for you guys. Yeah. If you watch that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
How
sure.
about that?
I thought that was an interesting little fact.
Yeah. It was pretty much after this, he kind of disappeared from being an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he did a couple more things, but not anything of note. This is like the biggest thing he did.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
At the farm, he plans to slaughter a number of teenagers before being confronted by his chosen virginal I'm having a very hard time talking in this episode. I apologize.
It's alright.
Before he is going to confront his virginal survivor girl, a local 17-year-old high school student named Kelly Curtis.
It's funny that they call her the survivor girl in this film.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's an industry term.
But, like, big time industry term has been final girl for a long time.
Right.
You know,
right. So somebody dropped the ball on that one.
Either that or they're trying to say that, like, we as consumers call them final girls, but the real serial killers call them survivor girls.
I mean, that might be the case.
Maybe. I don't know.
Whatever.
But as Leslie takes the film crew around town, he explains how serial killers, like himself, are able to do what they do. Lots of cardio is a big key.
There's that whole thing of making it look like you're walking, and everybody else is running their asses off.
Oh, right.
I gotta stay with them.
But he enlists Taylor's help in trying to freak out Kelly while she's closing down at the cafe that she works at. Yeah.
This is the first time the film crew crosses over the line of not just documenting, but being a part of the process.
Yes.
Trust the process. Don't trust the process. This is a fucked up thing.
So next, Leslie introduces Taylor and her crew to his mentor, Eugene, who is played by Scott Wilson, who most people know as Herschel from The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
I love this man so much. He's
It caught me off guard when I first saw him on screen.
Right.
I knew he was in it,
Yeah.
but I forgot that he was in it when I sat down to watch it. So I'm watching it and I'm like, that's fucking Herschel.
Oh, hey!
That's
It's
Herschel.
See, I saw this before he was Herschel on The Walking Dead. So, like...
I mean, this only came out a few years before The
yeah,
Walking Dead.
yeah, just a few years before. But, yeah, it's... oh, yeah. Yep. Anyways.
When they arrive at Eugene's house, he is sleeping in the chamber, which is apparently a metaphor for being buried alive in a coffin that he's apparently been in for 3 days.
Yeah. You know, he's got to keep up his practice of pretending to be dead.
It's good to be able to do that. In case you need to look. You know, dead.
They all got to know how to pretend to be dead. If you're going to be a good slasher, you have to slow your breathing and make it look like you're dead. Anyways, I don't know if you noticed it, but when they first come to Eugene's house, there is a car in his driveway.
I didn't notice it.
It's yellow.
I mean, there's very clear and
It's-
present nods to
It's
other...
Sam's car, though.
Is
It
it,
is
is,
the
it, is it the
actual
Delta?
car. Yes. Yes, it is.
Like, actually, like,
It's
legit
actually
Sam's car? How
yeah.
the hell did it...
I don't know. Who knows?
There are very clear and other nods to other franchises.
Absolutely.
Sprinkled, peppered, whatever you want to call it,
Definitely.
throughout the whole process.
Yeah. So Eugene vaguely elaborates on the motives of killers like himself. He explains that they make a sacrifice by acting out the evil, which counters the good. Basically kind of saying that you can't have good without bad.
I mean, that is a very true statement, because you can't appreciate the good without the bad.
Exactly.
Every civilization from the dawn of man has had its monsters. For good to be pitted against evil, you have to have evil, don't you?
Yeah, this is a little... It's taking it a little far to say that you're, like, you know, balancing out the evil and the good.
I mean, this isn't Cabin in the fucking Woods, for
Right.
fuck's sake.
Right.
Eugene's wife offhandedly suggests Leslie kill the local librarian, Mrs. Collinwood.
How about a librarian? She spends a lot of time there. I'm sure she knows a few of them.
And that's a good idea right there, Les.
In order to draw Kelly in, which he agrees to after Eugene says it's a good idea.
So they go to the library, and he plants a fake news clipping in the library that implies that Kelly is actually related to the people or person responsible for killing Leslie.
He also replaces the
The microfiche. Yeah.
He murders the librarian, who is actually played by Zelda Rubinstein in her very last film role.
Never you mind, it's just a story.
At the library, Leslie is nearly killed when his Ahab shows up in the form of Doc Halloran, an obvious reference to The Shining.
And an obvious reference to Donald Pleasance's Dr. Loomis.
Big time, big time.
The next day, after Taylor and her crew start feeling guilty for their part in everything, they go to the cafe where Kelly works in an attempt to tell her what the fuck is actually going on.
Yeah.
But
they realize they are being watched by Doc Halloran, who walks over to the table and tells them that Leslie is not who he claims to be.
He's not who you think he is. What's he calling himself now? Leslie Vernon? How perfect.
Doc Halloran reveals that Leslie is in fact an ordinary, mentally unstable man named Leslie Mancuso?
Yeah.
There's a little reference to Frank Mancuso of Friday the 13th.
Yep, there you go. There's lots of name references, for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Halloran treated Leslie in Reno, Nevada.
Yep. The character of Doc Halloran.
Do they say what state this takes place in?
I believe it's in Massachusetts. She says it right when she, when the very first, when Taylor is talking to the camera,
I guess I missed that.
Talking about.
I guess I know it's like a fictional city that they're talking about and everything like that. I just couldn't remember if they stated
it's East
what
Coast
state.
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So the character of Doc Halloran is actually really interesting because the name comes from Danny's nickname in The Shining, which his mom and dad called him Doc, and then Mr. Halloran, Dick Halloran, who that's his actual name. It's a very big homage, but also, as Hallie mentioned earlier, it's clear homage of Dr. Loomis in the Halloween franchise, which is the character of Doc Halloran, who we have not mentioned who plays him.
Yes. So while Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, and all of them exist in this world, we actually have the actors that play those characters playing other characters.
Yeah.
As we said earlier, Kane Hodder was living in Nancy's old house.
Right.
Whether it's Kane Hodder or just he's playing another character or whatever.
Yeah.
But Doc Halloran is played by the incomparable Robert Englund.
Yep, we get Robert fucking Englund, guys. I mean, hello. So
Taylor confronts Leslie about Halloran's allegation, and Leslie becomes aggressive with her to the point where he
Don't ruin my life's work. Don't do it.
literally grabs her by the throat and threatens
pushes her into the van.
Right, he threatens her.
And really, they promised not to interfere as well, and he's not happy about the fact that they just went into her cafe. Anyways, at this point, Taylor pretty much contemplates just ending the documentary.
Which would have been the best fucking decision right then and there.
You know?
However,
ultimately, they reconcile with Leslie, and they choose to continue filming.
You know what? This is what I've chosen to do, so let's see it through.
And Taylor and her crew continue watching as Leslie meticulously plans all the preparations for his killing spree.
yes. In addition to a strict training regimen and learning theater techniques to create the proper atmosphere, he has rigged the farm to be in his favor. Nailing windows shut.
Don't they just smash them out?
You'd think so. But you'd be surprised. No.
Cutting smaller branches, cutting
yep.
the larger branches down that would support them, rigging heavy weapons that would be good to use against a psycho killer by cutting them just enough to where you swing them once, they're going to break.
Yep.
He's literally thought
he's
this
covered
very
all
through.
of his bases. Yeah, for sure.
Somebody has watched far too many slashers.
Yes. He takes the crew to the abandoned house and shows them all of the ways he has set the house up. He seals off exits within the house, mapping routes that his victims would take, rigging the electrical system to fail, and tampering with all the weapons in the barn. Really, he sets everything up so that it works how he wants it to work. And apparently, this is how all the slashers do it. They prepare for these things. I don't see Jason doing anything like that.
I don't see Michael doing
anything like that.
And as far as Freddy goes, he attacks you in your fucking dream.
Yep. But either way, this is what he's telling us, though, is that, like, the way that they're able to catch up to their victims is, like, lots of cardio and lots of planning, which, I mean, sure. Yeah. Okay.
Or just the supernatural force like everyone else has.
Yeah, well.
Leslie also discusses the bizarre behavior of people in such circumstances, such as herding together without really protecting themselves, tripping on level and stable ground, and attempting to hide in obvious and dangerous locations. It reminds me of, like, the Geico commercial.
Let's hide in the attic.
No, in the basement. Why can't we just get in the running car?
Are you crazy? Let's hide behind the chainsaws.
Smart. Yeah, okay.
If you're in a horror movie, you make poor decisions. That's what you do.
This was a good idea. Shh, I'm being quiet. Breathing on me.
If you want to save 15% or more on car insurance, you switch to Geico. It's what you do.
Love it. So Taylor and her crew, really, they kind of possess a little bit of enthusiasm for Leslie's creativity, but their consciences catch up with them the night of the murders.
They beg Leslie to call off the killing spree, but Leslie is adamant, believing that his survivor girl will define herself by facing him. He cannot be more right.
He tells the crew to leave, telling them that he rips his
mic off, throws it at them, and he's like, get the fuck out.
Yep. I have worked my entire life for this, and he was not going to let them ruin it for him.
Taylor and her crew ultimately decide to try to stop Leslie. At this point, they turn off their cameras, and the film shifts from the mockumentary style to an actual standard horror film, which I think this is probably my favorite part of this entire fucking film.
Agreed. Now, part of the reason that I love this last half an hour is because we've spent the whole hour previous to that setting it up in very clever ways that pay off at the end.
I get that. But I cannot stand mockumentaries.
I get it.
I've watched too many mockumentaries that have passed themselves off as actual factual-based documentaries.
Well, this obviously isn't.
Like The Curse of the Blair Witch.
Sure.
Like, the first time I saw that, I thought that was real. I also thought that the Blair Witch, while being a movie made for Hollywood, was inspired by real-life events. So, mockumentaries piss me off. Because
I understand that.
It plays on my gullibility that I tend to believe things.
Right. I understand that.
So, that's my biggest problem with this film.
I get that. It is from here out that the film really does come into its
well, a low-budget slasher.
Yeah, it comes into its shoes. Taylor attempts to warn and rally the remaining teenagers to fight Leslie, attempting to use the knowledge that they have that Leslie has already told them, you know. But Leslie's preparation for the night has included Taylor, Doug, and Todd, as if he almost knew it was going to happen this
no, he knew exactly what he was doing. Because Kelly is revealed to not be a virgin. They actually walk in on her reverse cowgirling somebody.
Yeah, riding that boy like a pony.
Right. That is very clear and evident that she knows what the fuck she's doing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That wasn't her first time.
No, there's no way. No, she's not a virgin.
So, when Kelly unexpectedly dies trying to escape through a window where she falls on a broken tree branch to her death.
Go figure.
So our supposed survivor girl is now dead.
Taylor struggles to keep the remaining teenagers from bumbling through Leslie's preordained schedule, with Todd sacrificing himself by drawing Leslie away from the house.
Yep. He pretty much kind of like says like, "Hey Leslie, it's me. Come get me." You know. Taylor quickly realizes that she is. I mean, I think she knew all along that she was a virgin, but she realizes that she was the intended survivor.
So yeah, there's a scene where they're in an upstairs bedroom or whatever, and you can clearly see that she's like curling up in a fetal position, isolating herself from the survivors.
Because it's
the group.
finally clicking in
It's
her
finally
head.
clicking that she's like, oh my god, he's planned this out. He came to me. He approached me. You know? I'm his survivor girl.
Yep, and he knew that she was going to step up and do what she needed to do. Yeah.
Leslie continues picking off the group one by one, actually in quick order.
Yeah, really, really fast.
Pretty fucking fast.
Yeah.
Doc Halloran shows up and attempts to stop Leslie, but is knocked out.
Yep. Eventually, the only person remaining to fight Leslie is Taylor.
Doesn't Doc Halloran actually get killed? I mean, he gets stabbed with a scythe.
No, but he does come back in the end.
Okay. I guess I
at the
missed
very
that
end
part.
of the film, he is there.
She faces Leslie and defeats him in the exact manner he had laid out for her, crushing Leslie's head in the apple press. That he showed her this earlier, and he was like, "Well, what?" She's like, "What's the apple press for?" And he's like, well, "It's for pressing apples and squeezing the juice." Duh.
Yeah.
And then burning down the old apple shed, apparently killing him.
Yep. Outside, she finds Doug and Doc Halloran, who have both survived their encounters with Leslie.
Okay, yeah, I guess.
Yep. They both kind of like, she walks out of the shed and finds them. Yep.
Over the final credits, security camera footage in a morgue.
Yep.
We hear the song Psycho Killer played by Talking Heads.
Sorry.
Playing
one of my
over
favorite songs.
playing over the credits as Leslie's charred body is wheeled into the morgue, and right at the very end of the credits, he sits up on the autopsy table, apparently still alive.
And that is that. We never hear another freaking word from Leslie Vernon. This movie was begging for a fucking sequel. I would have watched a whole franchise of this.
Honestly, they still could do it.
They could. They very easily could. I would love to see him come back 25 years later.
With him being charred, you don't even have to,
you don't even have to use Nathan Basil. Yeah.
No, you can use a completely different actor.
Yeah.
And have him be charred. Or disfigured in some capacity.
Yeah.
Still wearing the mask, but take away the mockumentary bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just turn it into a straight slasher.
Absolutely. But I think part of the mockumentary thing that works for me at least, is just watching them learn their fate. Like going back on a second watch and knowing how it ends.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see the value in a second watch of
Yeah,
this. Mike,
for sure.
I only watched this for this review. I'd never watched this before this.
I've probably seen it a good 10 times at least.
Well,
I like it a lot. It makes me happy. But for me, this is a bloody machete straight to the sky. Like all the way up for me.
So I said at the end of our last film, or the last video when we announced we were doing this, and at the start of this, that I am conflicted. I am still conflicted over this. I do not know how to rank this with a machete up or down. There are parts of this that I really liked. I really liked, like you said, the last half hour when we ditched the fucking mockumentary bullshit.
For sure.
And it just became a straight
I also
slasher.
like, because we didn't really mention this as much, but when he's telling the crew about how he has everything planned, and they show these short little vignettes of how he's killing people.
Right,
I loved that
right.
part too.
That was kind of cool too,
Yeah.
because at that point it's taking you out of that mockumentary and showing you the slasher
Like what
aspect.
his plans are.
Right,
What's
like
he
his
got
twisted
planned
mind.
inside of his brain.
Right,
Yeah.
I did appreciate that, because at that point we ditched the mockumentary.
Yeah.
We still had his voiceover telling what was going on and
Yeah.
everything, but it was no longer like sitting down with. Basically a student film at that point, because when they're filming it as the mockumentary, it is like a handheld camera and everything. And
for sure.
It's when they switch to the actual like slasher portion, it's more film.
Yeah. And I honestly, like, even if you had taken the entire mockumentary part out completely and just turned that last bit into a 30-minute short film, it would still be good. But I think all of the lead up to it and all of the like coy ways that he is like placing them into his his fantasy, it just works for me. It works for me. It's a bloody machete up for me.
I think I will ultimately give it a bloody machete up.
I think you should watch it a second time. Not right away.
No.
Like, I mean, I think
I need to process it from watching
come
it the
back
first
in a
time.
year or so and watch it again, and then tell me what you think. But you guys, tell me what you think down there in the comments. If you've seen it, if you watched it, what you liked, what you didn't like. Obviously, I am a huge fan. Hallie's still not sure what she thinks about it. I love it. But with that, let's get it the heck out of here. And you know what I did? I forgot to look at it. Oh no, it got dark in here. We lost.
Who turned the lights out?
We lost some lighting. And we're back.
And this is why we can't have nice things, because I fuck shit up.
You almost made it through.
I know.
It was so close.
I know.
We have a big ring light over on that side, and she almost made it through the ring light.
Oh, they know it's ring light.
Oh yeah,
they can see it in my glasses. So you don't know what it is?
I don't.
I don't even know. I don't even remember what it is.
Ooh! It's going to be a blind pull. This is going to be real fun.
Another franchise.
Okay. Scream? 3! Yes!
The worst one.
You
Well,
guys.
no, not the worst one.
Yeah.
But it's up there.
I think it's time for me to reevaluate this one.
You can reevaluate it all you want. I've made my opinion.
It is one that I
about this.
genuinely skip straight over when I'm watching the franchise. I will watch 1, 2, 4. I love 4 actually, and a lot of people trash on 4, but I love 4.
The only cool thing that I can say about this one, and we'll get into it more obviously when we review it, is the fact that they did change the formula a little bit.
Yeah.
And be sure to come back next week to find out how they changed that formula.
It's the only time that it happens is in this movie.
Yes.
At least so far in the franchise.
Right.
So, come back next week where we will be discussing Scream 3, jumping back into my favorite franchise. So excited.
Until then, be sure to slash that subscribe button.
Stab that like button.
And ring that great bell so you don't get buried alive and stay up to date on everything that we're doing on YouTube.
And until next time, we will see you all
in the afterlife.